The river whispers promises of gold, but delivers only silence and aching backs. On the Lamanjoki, each swirl of sand holds a fragile dream, and every empty pan crushes it. Hope glimmers faintly in the muddy water as men chase fortune through frost and fatigue, believing that one golden spark could rewrite their fate forever. Amid the thunder of steam and the chill of wartime London, Mrs. Waggan pedals through the depot, the railway knocker-upper. Her task is humble, yet vital: to rouse sleeping workers before dawn, so the trains of war can keep moving. In the shadow of iron giants, her knock on a window is the heartbeat of a nation that dares not sleep. In the smoky air of a bustling cigar factory, a lector's voice rises above the rustle of tobacco leaves. It is Havana, Cuba, in the 1910s, a time when words were the workers' music. Each story drifts through the haze, carrying dreams beyond the factory walls. To these cigar rollers, the lector is more than a voice. He is their connection to the world, their spark of imagination amid the smoke. China, 1800. In the quiet glow of a flickering basket of fire, a lone man crouches by the water's edge. Shadows ripple across the surface as he waits, patient and still. Then, with a swift motion, he traps a tiny frog, a humble catch in a world lit only by flame. In this moment, survival and tradition dance beneath the ancient night. The brass bell rings, and William Williams's voice cuts through the morning air, commanding every ear in town. His scroll unrolls with practiced grace. Tree Harris, Wales, 30th June, 1938. Around him, villagers pause to listen, their faces lit with curiosity. In an age before screens and static, his cry is the lifeline of news, a single voice binding a community together. A man walks the sunlit streets, balancing bottles that shimmer like jewels in the heat. His call echoes between whitewashed walls, drawing thirsty souls from shaded doorways. Greece, early 1900s. With each pour, he serves not just drink, but a moment of relief. A brief pause in the rhythm of a bustling, sun-drenched day. The evening settles over London, and one lone figure walks beneath the fading glow of dusk. Ivan Ramnouth, the last gas lamplighter. With careful hands, he lifts his pole to spark the flame. Temple Inns of Court, London, present day. As each lamp flickers to life, the city remembers its past, glowing softly against the march of modern light. He walks through the sweltering streets, sweat glistening on his skin, yet a calm smile never fades. On his shoulder rests a crystal block of ice, his daily burden and his blessing. United States, 1900. While others wilt under the scorching sun, he carries winter through summer's heart, untouched by the heat that bends the world around him. Her fingers move swiftly across a maze of wires, connecting voices that will never see her face. The hum of invention fills the air as progress crackles through copper lines. United States, 1878. She stands at the dawn of communication, a pioneer in a world learning to speak across distance, where every click of the switchboard carried the future's first words. High above the clouds, a lone crewman steadies himself within the vast belly of the dirigible Akron. The hum of engines fills the cold air, and the world below shrinks to a distant blur. United States, January 1st, 1932. Suspended between earth and sky, he serves aboard a marvel of its age. A floating fortress of ambition, daring to conquer the heavens. Three curious children gather around a strange wooden box, their eyes wide with wonder as they peer through its tiny window. The man beside it smiles beneath his hat, turning the dial with practiced pride. Europe, early 1900s. In that small flicker of moving images, the children glimpse magic. The birth of cinema, where imagination first learned to dance on screen. Rows of women sit in perfect rhythm, the sharp clatter of typewriters echoing through the room like mechanical rain. Fingers blur across keys, turning thoughts into inked words. United States, 1900. In this sea of diligence and determination, these women type not just letters, but the first lines of change. Pioneers of a workplace that once belonged only to men. A barefoot boy darts across the wooden deck, the roar of cannons shaking the sea around him. His small hands clutch a charge of gunpowder. Life and death wrapped in cloth. South Carolina coast, USA, 1864. They call him a powder monkey, a child soldier of the waves, carrying courage where men falter, his youth lost amid smoke and thunder. Inside the dim halls of Smith's wool-combing works, the air hums with the rhythm of machines and the scent of raw wool. Bent figures move with tireless precision, hands guiding fibers into order. Bradford, West Yorkshire, England, late 19th century. In this industrial symphony, sweat and steam weave together the fabric of a nation built on toil. Amid the frozen silence of the Yukon, men stand beside towering stacks of cut wood. Lifelines for steamers braving the icy river. Smoke curls from their cabin chimneys, defying the bitter wind. Upper Yukon, Canada, circa 1900 to 1930. Here, in the heart of the wilderness, every swing of an axe keeps the engines of progress alive. Soft light filters through tall windows, illuminating polished brass lenses and heavy wooden tripods. The air smells of chemicals and curiosity. Europe, late 1800s. Inside this early photographic studio, portraits and stereo cameras stand ready, instruments of wonder capturing time itself, freezing fleeting lives into eternal frames of silver and shadow. A young David Sarnoff sits before the telegraph, his fingers dancing over the key as sparks of sound bridge distant shores. Around him, the hum of the sea and static of discovery intertwine. Sayasconset, Nantucket Island, USA, early 1900s. In this humble wireless station, a boy's curiosity pulses through the wires, foreshadowing the birth of modern broadcasting. A photographer sits on the ground, angling his camera toward the towering crown of the Statue of Liberty. The city hums around him, dwarfed by her silent grace. New York City, United States, early 1900s. Through his lens, he captures not just a monument, but the spirit of a nation rising, freedom framed in glass and light. Inside a Sheffield workshop, the air glints with the shine of steel and the hiss of polish on blade. Workers lean over benches, their steady hands restoring each knife to perfection. Sheffield, England, early 1900s. Here, craftsmanship is an art of patience, where every spark and stroke keeps alive the legacy of a city built on steel. In a dim room, a man turns the handle of a hand-cranked film projector, light flickering through spinning reels. Shadows dance on the wall, and gasps ripple through the small crowd. France, 1898. In this trembling beam of light, the miracle of motion is born. The moment when pictures learned to move, and stories began to live forever on screen. A lone street vendor stands beneath the morning sun, his cart stacked with goods and hope. Voices rise around him, the hum of life, the barter of survival. Europe, 1900 to 1910. Each sale is a story, each coin a victory, as he weaves through crowded streets carrying the spirit of an era when hard work was the only fortune to be found. Deep in the belly of the ship, sweat glistens in the furnace glow as Lascar stokers heave coal into roaring flames. The air burns thick with heat and grit, each breath a battle. Aboard a P&O steamer, early 1900s. Far from home, these men power the engines of empire, their toil hidden beneath decks where daylight never dares to reach. In a bustling printing house, ink stains the air, and the rhythmic clatter of type fills the room. Hands move swiftly, arranging letters that will shape tomorrow's words. Europe, late 1800s. Among presses and paper, typographers carve stories into history, turning metal and ink into the powerful voice of a new, literate age. Two overconfident Londoners stride into the countryside, their fine coats and swagger clashing with the rustic calm. A local farmer watches, unimpressed by their city bravado. England, 19th century. In Henry Heath's satirical scene, class and folly collide, as humor exposes the arrogance of those who mistake mock adventure for true country life. At dawn's first light, cowboys move with quiet purpose, rolling blankets and saddling weary horses. Smoke from the dying campfire drifts across the open plain. American West, late 1800s. In W.A. Rogers' illustration, freedom and hardship ride together, men bound by dust, duty, and the endless horizon that calls them onward. A modest Parisian restaurant hums with life, its narrow doorway glowing beneath a faded sign. Inside, laughter mingles with the clatter of dishes and the aroma of fresh bread. Rue des Blancs-Manteaux, Paris, early 1900s. Here, amid wine, warmth, and weary travelers, the spirit of old Paris lingers, simple, human, and eternally alive. A quiet, still life of survival. Iron, tin, and flame. Tools of warmth and light from a world before electricity. United States, circa 18th century. The charcoal foot warmer, oil lamps, and lanterns speak of long winters and humble comforts. In their glow, we glimpse the endurance of early America, a time when every flicker meant life against the dark. Down a gray London street, a rag-and-bone man pushes his cart, calling out for cast-offs the world no longer wants. The city hums indifferently around him. London, England, 1969. Among the scraps and rusted relics, he gathers more than junk. He collects the quiet history of a changing city, where one man's waste is another's survival. A small boy stands on a busy Hartford street, newspapers clutched tight against the wind. His eyes are older than his years, hardened by the struggle of survival. Hartford, Connecticut, March 1909. Captured by Louis Wicks. Hine, Tony Casale embodies a generation of child laborers. Voices of innocence lost too soon in the noise of progress. A young man sits proudly in a horse-drawn cart, his apron dusted from a day's work, the clapboard house standing tall behind him. The reins rest lightly in his hands, confidence in his gaze. United States, early 1900s. In this quiet moment, the photograph captures more than labor. It preserves the dignity of an era when strength and simplicity steered the world forward. In a dimly lit parlor, A phrenologist runs his fingers across a man's skull, tracing the map of supposed character and fate. Shelves of plaster heads line the walls like silent judges. Europe, mid-1800s. Once seen as science, now a relic of folly, phrenology reveals how deeply humanity sought to read the mind through the fragile bones of belief. A frail figure sits in silence, head bowed beneath a wide hat, a sign of pleading hanging from his neck. Crutches rest beside him, his only means of motion. France, 1800. Rosary beads slip through trembling fingers as he prays for mercy in a world that turned away. In his isolation, faith becomes the last refuge of a forgotten soul. Amid the soft clatter of plates and the glow of warm light, Alexis Maurice sits at a table in the lively churrasco restaurant. Laughter and the scent of grilled meat fill the air around him. Paris, France, mid-20th century. In this candid moment, he embodies the simple joy of dining, where food, conversation, and life blend into a quiet celebration. High above the ground, a telephone worker balances on a narrow pole, tools hanging from his belt as wires stretch across the open sky. The wind hums through the lines like faint voices from afar. United States, early 1900s. In this daring height, he connects a nation strand by strand, weaving the invisible web of human connection. Through a frozen landscape, a mailman guides his horse-drawn sled across the deep winter snow. The air is sharp, the silence broken only by sleigh bells and hoofbeats. United States, early 1900s. Wrapped in determination and frost, he carries letters of hope and love, a lifeline threading through the cold heart of isolation. Inside a rustic cellar, wooden barrels line the stone walls as a wine merchant inspects his prized stock. The air is rich with the scent of oak and fermenting grapes. France, January 1st, 1900. In this quiet craft lies a nation's heritage, generations of labor and passion sealed within every bottle, waiting to be uncorked like memory itself. In a bright Berlin classroom, young boys bend over wooden benches, their small hands shaping blocks of wood into craft and purpose. The scent of sawdust fills the air with quiet industry. Berlin, Germany, circa 1900. Here, in the rhythm of hammer and plane, a generation learns the dignity of skill, the art of building both work and character. In a workshop thick with sawdust and the scent of oak, a cartwright bends over a great wooden wheel, hammer striking true. Sunlight filters through smoke and shavings. England, late 1800s. Before the turn of the century, his craft keeps the world moving, shaping strength and motion from timber, spoke by spoke, with patient hands. A man stands beside his barrow on a narrow East End street, a small child's hand in his own, a lump of meat resting atop his cart. The air is heavy with London's hardship and hope. London, England, circa 1902. Captured by missionary photographer Galt, the scene speaks quietly of dignity amid poverty. Ordinary lives enduring with grace, far from the scorn of judgment. In a modest workshop, a man leans over his sewing machine, guiding rough leather pieces beneath the needle. Each stitch pulls the ball closer to life. Europe, early 1900s. Long before factories and brands, the game's heart was handmade, shaped by patience, craftsmanship, and the quiet rhythm of a worker's hands. In the dim light of a workshop, workers strike bundles of flax against wooden boards, fibers loosening beneath each heavy blow. The air hums with dust and effort. Great Britain, circa 1880. This is scutching, the ancient art of freeing linen from the stalk. Every strike transforms raw plant into fine thread, weaving industry from the rhythm of human labor. In the heart of Sheffield, the clang of steel once defined progress. Here, skilled hands slice glowing metal into fine-edged files, tools that built engines, ships, and cities. Each spark marks a legacy of craftsmanship, where the rhythm of industry forged not just tools, but the pride of a nation. In the quiet town of Nazareth, carpenters shape wood with timeless skill. Each stroke of their tools echoes generations of tradition and faith. Amid the scent of fresh cedar and drifting sawdust, they carve not just furniture, but the living spirit of craftsmanship that has endured through centuries. In a Lancashire workshop of 1880, artisans press wooden blocks dipped in vibrant dyes onto calico cloth. Each print demands precision, color mixed by hand, patterns aligned with care. This was textile art before machines, where every yard of fabric told a story of patience, craft, and the pride of England's industrial heart.